Good afternoon. Happy Tempted Tuesday. So I have a lot of clients that come in and they really can't afford a divorce trial. So what happens in those cases? Well, there's a lot of alternatives to having an actual litigation in a divorce trial. And as I've said before many times, it's not always necessary to try your case. And in fact, most divorces settle before a trial and they convert to being uncontested. So what's an alternative dispute resolution? So there's mediation, arbitration. There's something called an ESP or early settlement panel that the courts have. There's also four-way conferences that can happen if you have an attorney and your attorneys meet with you and the other parties to negotiate a resolution to your case. With regard to mediation, that's usually a private process. You can hire a separate mediator and you can go either with or without attorneys. And as long as there's a full financial disclosure and a desire to resolve your case on both sides, mediation can be very successful. And it can actually save everybody a lot of money because you and your spouse are sharing the cost for mediation. If you have already filed a complaint for divorce and you're going through the divorce process, the court also has what's called economic mediation. And it's usually a step after an early settlement panel. So let me just backtrack a little bit. An early settlement panel, or an ESP, is part of the court process where they send you out to have one or two attorneys that have practiced before your particular judge. They hear both sides of your case and they let you know what they think the judge would do under those circumstances. They're not necessarily trying to get you and your spouse to a middle ground, but they're trying to get you to understand, based on their experience, what the judge might do in your particular situation. The next step after that, generally for the courts, is what's called economic mediation. And that's where an attorney volunteers 2 hours of their time. It's a private mediation process, but this time they give you 2 free hours. So they'll review your case. They will not necessarily make recommendations, but they will try to get you and your spouse to some middle ground to resolve your case. And you can go back as many times as you need to go back, but you do have to pay for that service. The final way for you to be able to resolve your case outside of going to a traditional trial is something called arbitration. Now, arbitration is essentially like a quasi-court, is what I like to tell people to think about it, because you're hiring either a retired judge or an experienced attorney who is going to listen to both sides of your case, take testimony from both of you, and then actually make a decision regarding how your case should resolve itself. And then those are generally binding. There's some circumstances where you can appeal, but that's beyond the scope of today's little talk. These are 4 ways that you can resolve your case outside of an actual trial. And I think as long as there's a full, fair disclosure of assets and information, you're going to be able to resolve and settle your case. So you're not going to have to worry about the expense of a trial. And frankly, I think that needs to go into the decision-making process that you have when you're deciding on what issues to fight about and what issues to settle. So hopefully that's helpful. I think in the next couple days, I'll go into a little more detail with regard to each of those 4 things. All right, hopefully everybody's having a nice day. It's beautiful out. I'm Stephanie Hunnell, the owner of the Hunnell Law Group in Asbury Park, New Jersey. See you next Tuesday.